Good morning and welcome back to the Thursday morning Bible study. I hope your week's going great and I appreciate you joining me. Hope you'll share it with your friends. So we're just going to spend about 15-20 minutes looking over the rest of Proverbs 31 that we started with last week, and then next week we'll go into a different series. But I'm just finishing up the thoughts on Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman. We know that the whole chapter is dedicated to women being virtuous. And we said that being virtuous meant being clean, decent, proper, unspoiled, good, innocent, spotless, stainless, lily white, Simon pure, sinless. That might be the most convicting of the synonyms for those. Anyway, I'm so glad you're back and you're joining me. I know that anytime we talk about the virtuous woman, that some people just kind of run from that chapter. I've actually had a couple of women tell me this week, because I taught it last week at a Bible study here where I am. And a couple ladies tell me that they had never read Proverbs 31. One lady said, "How have I ever missed that chapter?" And the other lady that told me that said, "Oh, I just intentionally don't read that." So I realized that it's a little bit of an intimidating chapter, it seems like, but it really isn't, especially when you consider the fact that this is just a prospective mother-in-law telling her son what to look out for. And she warns him against wine, good to know, and women, who will either make them or break them, no doubt. But this is the thing, men and women both should be virtuous. Remember, because the Bible says, add to your faith virtue. So we should all be adding that virtue to us and striving to be virtuous. Just to summarize last week's, we said that we can't base how we feel about ourselves and our worth on our appearance, because that's going to change, on our belongings, because that varies from time to time, on our children, they make us proud, they keep us humble, and on our abilities. And sometimes abilities just grow as we get older. We grow with the job and we learn to do more things. So what we're left with is our influence, and we want that to be good. And we influence others by our character, our skills, our wisdom, and our compassion. And those are the things we should be working on in order to be effective for God and to influence others for good. But Psalm 31, verse 11, we'll pick up there, and this is just kind of a brief overlook at the whole chapter, the rest of it starting from verse 10 where we started last week. And verse 11 says this: "The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil." And I'll go on to verse 12. "She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life." So for married women, that would be safely trusting. Your husband can safely trust in you. Can you say that about your husband and you and your relationship together? That doesn't mean we can't spoil them. That's just good. It's good for us. I remember one time hearing a celebrity say, I'll just tell you who it was, I don't guess it matters. She said it on TV. It was June Carter Cash. And she said somebody taught her about submission to a husband early on in her married life. And she said, "I have found this out. Whenever I submit to him, I have been submissive to him, and he just lets me do whatever I want to do." It just makes for a great relationship, for everybody to play their role well. So just developing a relationship so that your husband can safely trust in you. Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote The Scarlet Letter, a well-known classic, he says this: "Let a man tremble to win the hand of a woman, unless he win along with it the utmost passion of her heart." So true, so true. Time and experience, that builds trust. You can fall in love, you can't fall in trust. Time and experience take care of that. And then it went on to say, "She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life." Now, it's one thing not to do somebody evil. Let that sink in. It's quite another thing to do somebody good, because that's going to take a positive action on our part to do somebody good. We could just avoid them and not do them any evil, but to do good, we're going to have to get involved in that. And maybe that depends on age. It's been said that that can mean a back rub or being gay, depending on age. Just doing good to whoever the Lord has given you to spend your life with. I have an Aunt Barbara. I had an Aunt Barbara. She's in heaven now. And she was fun to be around. A lot of fun, a lot of spunk. But I remember one time she was upset with my Uncle Bud, and she went out and let the air out of all of his tires so that he couldn't leave the house. Yeah. She was just spunky. We loved her, and she had a good heart. But I remember another time he was taking his lunch pail with him to work, like all the men used to do a long time ago. And she always packed his lunch. Well, this one particular morning, she was just not happy with him about something that had gone on, and she got worms and mashed them up and added mayonnaise into that to make it look like ham salad. He took it to work and he ate it. And we've teased about that over the years a lot, just because she was just spunky and a lot of fun. But she did do him good and not evil. I will say that about her. I remember the story of evangelist Evie Hill. I don't know if you've ever listened to the sermon where he preached his wife's funeral, but it's impressive. And he called her Babe, and he said that he had gotten a bomb threat. They had gotten a bomb threat, and so one morning he was getting ready for work, and then when it was time to go out the door, he didn't see his wife. And as he opened the door, she was pulling back around where she had been in the neighborhood. She wanted to make sure that if somebody had planted a bomb in his car, that he wouldn't be the one killed by that. So she drove around the block in his car and brought it back to make sure that he was safe when he left for work. Yeah, we're talking about doing them good and not evil all the days of our life. Verse 13 says this: she seeketh wool and flax, the virtuous woman seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. The word hand or hands are mentioned 7 times in Proverbs 31. So important what we're doing with our hands. I'll tell you this: if I find wool and flax, I'm going to have to seek it. You like me? But that just means working willingly with our hands. Whatever our hands find to do, do it with all our might. It means being creative and being practical, being wise in our resources, and just being willing to work. There are a lot of people these days that aren't willing to work. We hear about that even on the news. Heard about a lazy man who won the Lazy Man of the Year award, and when they announced his name, they had a plaque for him. And instead of walking up there to get it, lazy as he was, he said, "Can you bring it to me?" Yeah, we don't want any laziness. The virtuous woman cannot be lazy. Verse 14 says, she is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. Now, that doesn't mean bottom heavy and needs paint, as I heard one speaker say. Just bring her food from afar. So what would that mean? That just means go to a little extra trouble. Go to a little effort to do that. It's so easy these days to just make things fast and convenient, maybe even cheap. And our families are not benefiting from us going to a little bit of effort for them. You ever look at a recipe and it has more than 5 ingredients and you say, yeah, well, that's not happening. That's what I mean. So just put some thought into it. One time years ago, teaching a series through Proverbs 31, a real fun kind of lady in my Sunday school class said, so if I drizzle icing on the Pop-Tarts, does that count as going to a little extra trouble? Whatever you have to do, just go to a little extra trouble for your family. We're teaching our daughters how they're going to do it one day, so it's important that we get it right. I heard this and it's just stuck with me. The Japanese eat very little fat and suffer fewer heart attacks than the British or the Americans. The French eat a lot of fat and suffer fewer heart attacks than the British or the Americans. Maybe it's not what we eat. Can eat what you want. Maybe it's just the fact that we're speaking English that's killing us. Anyway, I'm not sure about that. I'm just saying, whatever you find that's healthy for your family, good for your family, do those things, and your family benefits from that. And then verse 15, she riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. Now, years ago when I studied this, I thought, she's getting up and feeding everybody. Like even all of the maidens in her house. But actually that means duty. She got up, and I'm sure she probably looked out for them too, because she's virtuous. If you're looking for a virtuous woman, keep in mind this is prophecy that a mother taught her son, but gave duties. Rising is necessary, shining is optional, for sure. I don't know if you're a morning person or not, but we can get so much done in the morning if we just get up and get moving and get it done. I'll tell you one thing that's helpful. I teach time management a lot of times for classes for ladies. And if you'll just make out all of the 5-minute chores that you can do, make the bed, load the dishwasher, scrub the tub, whatever it is, you'd be surprised how many 5-minute chores you can get done in the mornings before you leave the house. So the goal would be to strive to do your best and just have no regrets. Take very good care of your family. Verse 16 says, she considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands, she planteth a vineyard. This lady is busy in business, and it says she's considering a field. That means she has enough discretion and enough wisdom to think through, is this a good thing? What I'm thinking about doing, is this a good thing? If we would take time, that's a lesson for all of us. If we would just take time occasionally to say, what I'm thinking about, what I'm considering, is this a good thing? And is it profitable to me, to my family, to my church? Whatever it is you have in your life, hopefully that's family and church. But this is a good way to prioritize. If you ask yourself these 5 questions, then you can decide if what you're doing is smart. And let me say this first. The idea is for us to expand wisely. It doesn't say that a woman can't work outside the home, but home comes first. The idea is for us to expand wisely without courting neglect of our present duties. And ask yourself these questions. It helps you to prioritize. Number one, will this activity matter 1 week from today, 1 year from today? What I'm doing, what I'm considering, will that matter? Number two, is there someone who does it better than I or to whom I might delegate it? Number three, does it satisfy a heart need for me or for someone I love very much? Number four, what happens if I don't do it? Number five, what happens if I do it? And I'll give you an illustration for that. I remember when my girls were younger and at home, and I was typing my Sunday school lesson on a Saturday evening to get ready, just to be ready for the next morning to teach. And it was just time for them to go to bed, and I really needed to type. And then I was thinking, but I really need to go in there and tell them good night too. I know they're teenagers and they can do this, but really I should do that. And so if you ask yourself these questions, will this activity matter 1 week from today or 1 year from today or 10 years from today? Yes, it might. So then number two, can somebody else do it better than I can? Or is there somebody I can delegate that to? No, that just wasn't the best thing. Mom needed to do it. Number three, does it satisfy a heart need for me or for someone I love very much? It would. What happens if I don't do it? What happens if I do it? Yes, and so I quit typing and got up and went in there, told them good night, ended the night on a good note for them. And that was the best thing to do. So that's one way. Consider what we're doing, what we're saying, where we're going, and ask ourselves these questions. It helps us to make good priorities, choose good priorities. Verse 17 says, she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. Lemuel's mother was advising him not to find a woman who was necessarily physically fit, although it's good for us if we pull that off, but to find one who would be fit for a king, because she's speaking to King Lemuel. And this kind of strength comes from hard work, not from working out. My husband teases me. He says, I collect exercise equipment and all I need is WD-40. He might be right about a little bit of that. I tell him, I exercise religiously. I'm not quite as religious as he is about the exercise, for sure. But one of these days when all is said and done and a eulogy is given for us, nobody is going to say how many times we skipped dessert or how many times we did aerobics 3 times a week, or that we had beautiful blonde hair or whatever it is. Nobody's going to say that. They're going to talk about our heart and our goodness and what we've done for other people, what we've done for the Lord, and that's what's going to be important. She girdeth her loins with strength. There we go with that. Verse 18 says, she perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. Merchandise is what you have to offer, so ask yourself, what do I have to offer? It might be children. Yeah, then do it well, because that's what you have to offer. You might say, all I do is take care of kids. That's important. They're a gift from the Lord. You're offering them back to the Lord. It's very important what we do for our families, for our church, for our society. Those things make a big difference. Just mind the store, as they say. I heard this illustration one time, if I can explain it on video. You know what a baseball diamond looks like. Down here, your home plate, first, second, third. You don't score it all unless you make it back home. It's nice to get on first or second or third, covering all the bases for everybody in your life and everything that you do, but you have to make it back home for it to really count in the end. And so that's the idea here. Perceive that your merchandise is good. Don't let your candle go out by night. Just consciously aware all day long, all evening long, all night long. And then verses 19 through 22 say this, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. That all has to do with about being busy with the hands. Whatever you're good at, and you can be good at some things, and we should be good at things. When I think about my mom, she was good at a lot of things, but she was a great soul winner. Yeah. Learn to win souls, bring people to Christ. Be good at a lot of things. Even we're talking about developing skills at the beginning. Be a great cook, a great seamstress, a great people person. We talked about people skills being so important. Be a great peacemaker, a great teacher, a great Christian, a great singer. This one thing I do, a great organizer, a great cleaner. Like, there are so many things. So many women say, oh, I can't do anything. Yes, you can. Everybody can do something, probably more than you've given yourself credit for sure. Verse 23 says, her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Sounds like the book of Ruth and the story there too, when Boaz was at the gate. But business was done there. So it's important when we do our jobs well, everybody else is able to do their jobs well, including husbands if you have one. And it was a feather in her cap for her husband to be sitting at the gate. It spoke well of her as well as of him. Bob Barnes says this, in all great marriages, the wife truly admires her husband. I think that's true, very, very true. And verse 24 says, she maketh fine linen and selleth it and delivereth girdles to the merchant. Aren't we glad we're selling them and not wearing them probably these days? Strength and honor, verse 25, are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. Oh, if we could just all get there. If you're with somebody watching this, say, look at my tongue. See if you see the law of kindness written there, because that's a hard thing to pull off. Yeah, just controlling that tongue. Verse 27, she looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. Again, just 24/7, that 24/7 job. Verse 28, her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, whatever our hands are finding to do. We talked about the word hands, hand being so often mentioned in this passage. Now, whatever our hands are finding to do, we reap the benefits of that. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. I think the idea kind of summed up would be this. Heard this, you've probably seen it, maybe on Pinterest or something like this. Be the kind of woman that every morning when your feet hit the floor, the devil says, oh no, she's up. Yeah, just to be that kind of woman. It's a challenge for all of us to be what the Lord would have us to be. One verse that's been on my mind is Psalm 111:4. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion. Like if we just become more godly, it takes care of all of this, because we naturally do these things. Be patient, be sweet, be kind, be friendly, be wise, be good, be virtuous. That's what we're talking about during this Proverbs 31 brief little study for the last couple of weeks that we've done. But I hope something there might be a blessing to you. And I appreciate you joining me, and I hope your week continues to be good. For those who live in or near McDonough, I hope to see you Sunday. And let's have a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you so much for today, for all your blessings, Lord, for being so very good to us, Lord, for the privilege to even be online, Lord, and be able to study your word in person and then to reach others as well. I thank you for those who take time each week to listen and to comment and to share and things like that, Lord. Help us to be a buffer against a world gone crazy, Lord, to encourage other ladies as you've encouraged our hearts, Lord. Help us to be good and clean and spotless and strive to be sinless and to have compassion and mercy and do all of the things, Lord, just those little imperatives that you give us. I pray that we would be conscious of those as we go about our day. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for loving us. For us in Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen.